G'day, Flosstube. It is Friday, July 24th. I cannot believe we're at the end of July already. I'm sure this month just started. Anna, aka Moranalis, back with a stitching update and all things that I've been working on. I have the usual works in progress. I do have a new start this week. No finishes because I work on big things and finishes are infrequent. A little bit of stash. More to that later. And a non-stitchy project to show you. In fact, see that? This is why mixed media and stitching don't go well together. I've washed my hands so many times and they are still pink. I swear, it's not going to come off on my stitching projects, but try and mentally think it's okay to pick up my chatelaine with those fingers. It's a struggle. The struggle is real. So we might as well start with that. My work is doing a Christmas in July social thing. So we've got a Secret Santa thing going on. So I've just whipped up a quick little tag to go with my on the bag for my present to say who it's for. So I had a bit of good time playing with my embossing powders, some chipboard bits. These were literally all scraps of various papers I had left from years ago. I think that's a graphic 45 if anybody's into scrapbooking. I'm pretty sure that was a graphic 45 series papers. But I cut a lot of them apart for something, I don't even remember what, and basically just had all these little bits of scraps, so that's what it is. Found a big enough piece to cover the back. That ribbon is dyed with Delusions and a bit of Distress ink, hence the fingers. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple, but we'll go on the tag, and I don't know if we're meant to give away who we, who did each present, but I feel like between that and the Yankee chocolates I put in the package, it'll be pretty easy to pick who did that package. Anyway, so let's start with the new start because I have it right here. It's been a couple of videos. I know I've showed you guys this pattern. It's a world map. I don't have a paper copy, so I'll insert an image so you can see what I'm talking about. For those of you, you know what? I forgot to say hello, guys. Hello, guys. Glad you could join me again. If you're new, welcome. Yes, I am always this scatterbrained. I don't do notes. I just sit down and you get what you get. And for anybody who's returning, thank you for putting up with me. I do appreciate it. So, world map. I do mapping for my day job. So I'm kind of fond of maps. The same lady that did this map has an Oceania map in this sort of similar style, which I seriously debated, given I'm in Australia. And I did like the icons and stuff that, the bits of coral reef and stuff that were popping out of that map. But I felt like the cartographic elements in the world map were better. So that, in the end, is why I chose the world map one. And guys, this is a massive 20-year project. It's like 1,000 stitches wide, 700 stitches tall. Yes, that's as far as I've gotten. I've been working on it about a week, so that's the roughly half of the first page. You can see I've started in the top. Oh, that isn't the thread. That's actual stitching. I've started in the top left corner, so it's mostly background. There is an L from latitude up there, but it's very faint. I'm hoping once you get a bit more visible that those elements would come out a bit more. It always was meant to be a bit of a watermark. You can just start to see bits of the archway, and that is like a postmark there. So that stands out quite a bit because it's black against all those light colors. So out here, it wasn't too bad, you know, 6 colors per square, not the end of the world. Stitching went relatively fast. The last couple of blocks, as I've gotten into the arches, it's really slowing down because there's a lot of confetti. And so every thread, it's like 2 stitches in that color in the entire 10 by 10 block. So I, the fabric on this is just a generic evenly 25 count. And I'm doing it 2 strands over 1 in the half cross. When I started this, I started it like I was doing Aura of Autumn, i.e. pick a column, go down, then go back up. Like about 3 blocks down, and on that 25 count, I was really struggling, and half cross to boot, struggling with my counting. And I thought, no, this is a recipe for really mucking something up. So I switched back to doing strict 10 by 10 blocks, making sure everything's complete in that 10 by 10 block before I move on. And obviously I've been going down in diagonals. This diagonal I'm actually working up. That's just a matter of where I feel like it, whether I start at the bottom or the top of the diagonal. So this is the end of that page. I will go and feather out. I can already tell a little bit visible maybe in the camera. I can definitely see, because I've been working in strict 10 by 10 columns, where there's a bit of a line where the stitching is, where the column break is. So I'm going to make a very deliberate effort to do that, feathering about 3 stitches in that you see people do, and hopefully that will mean that any page break boundaries are not so visible. So that's my new start, 20-year project. Yeah, not much else to say. I like maps. All right, what else have we got? These are in no particular order. They're just kind of how they're stacked on the pile. I did pull out my Chatelaine. You know what? I forgot my board too. Dreadfully disorganized today. I pulled out the Tinctorium only for an evening. And I started filling in the background. I think I pulled this out because that background thread had arrived. And so I went in filling in that border along those little animals. And I probably did a little bit more work in those animals, but mostly I was just wanting to see how that border was coming together. And I'm pretty sure that dark green there represents the very edge of that first part. So this is the Tinctorium Mandala Chatelaine. It's 28 count cashel linen that I dyed myself, just using Rit dye. It's a lovely light purple color. Hopefully it'll complement the design quite well. My goal, if you remember, for this piece is to essentially fill this center motif area completely, including all the specialty stuff, not including beads, by the end of the year. And I think in the short term, my goal will just be to finish those critters so that I can say all critters are done. I'm not a big fan of the 1/1 stitching. It doesn't bother me as much as it first did. Some of the Teresa Wenslers and stuff I did where their face and stuff is 1/1. I really am not fond of how they look. These don't bother me as much, but I still don't much like stitching them. So not much progress there. I really need to pull this one out again. But I may have gotten somewhat sidetracked with the map. So the other one-day project that I only pulled out for a single day, and again, it was because more threads arrived, is the Hawaiian mandala. Hold on. So here, first I'll show you the threads that showed up. So the Hawaiian mandala calls for a bunch of thread gatherers, and if you were with me during Mania, you'll know I didn't have those, and so I was subbing some of them out for DMC just because they were handy. Well, I finally got around and ordered the remaining ones that I haven't subbed in to check them out. This is the first time I've used thread gatherers. The variegation is not particularly strong. They're lovely threads, but I wish the variegation had been a bit stronger. So it'll be interesting to see how they stitch up. Like, there is variegation in that purple. There's no doubt there is. And you can see it where I've stitched it. So it's not a waste. But I don't know. I was envisaging, based on the pictures on the internet, something a bit more striking. So when those showed up, I thought, well, no, I must get the Hawaiian mandala out. And here we go. So I knew, so there's where I left off with the Hawaiian mandala. And I knew this border up the side was one of those thread gatherer colors, entirely solid. And I had deliberately left it not DMC because I wanted to see how the variegated. And you can see clearly it's the purple one, and there is variegation there. So I'm glad I left it. I'm glad I waited till I had the thread gatherers rather than sub it out with a flat DMC. I do like that purple. It's a nice purple. Note for anybody who's stitching the chart, you'll notice there's one spot left every so often for beads. One of these spots in my chart, there's no bead marked, and I'm assuming that has to be a mistake. It's like it on both legs of the triangle. I've assumed it's a mistake, and I've left the hole to put a bead in, so it'll be nice and consistent. It seemed really odd that there was one spot where it was solid with no bead. So not a massive amount of progress, but you know, when you get new threads, you got to try them out, see what they're like. I like them. So I'm pretty sure that light color in there was another one of those thread gatherers that I looked and I decided I'd sub out. I don't remember any of the other ones. I should have to go back to the pattern and see. All right, so that's the two mandalas that seriously need more attention. And for those of you wondering about Tahiti, I think I'm basically going to have to give up on the paper chart. I'm going to have to buy it in the PDF form, which is not my preferred way of doing things, but it is what it is. So obviously that means I could buy it and start it at any time. Last time I looked at the exchange rate with the euros, it was so bad. I wasn't buying it then. It would have been about $150 chart Australian. It has come back. It is much more normal now. So one of these days, I will have to go buy it, and then I'll do our week where we start the Tahiti mandala the same as we did the other two. But at this point, I kind of feel like I want to I don't know, catch up and get some progress on some of the other stuff before I start yet another thing. So I did a little bit of progress on Aura of Autumn, which, hold on, this is Aura of Autumn, Leonid Afremov artwork, charted by Artecy, full coverage done on an unknown even weave. And that's where we're up to. So I think last time I showed you, I was coming up on the edge of the Q-snap. I haven't quite got a page finished yet, but I ran out of room in the Q-snap, and I thought, no, I'm going to leave it there so I could show you guys the full piece before it goes back in the Q-snap. And besides, that let me use the Q-snap for the map. I've been kind of debating whether or not I should get a second Q-snap. I go back and forth on it. I'm going to try not to. I spend too much money on other things. But you can see we got a fair bit of the back of the bench now. Nearly at a row finish. Not quite. I think there's one more column to technically finish that page. So I think that means there's a page and a partial page left after I finish this one to finish the row. So it's nice to get it out and see the full picture. You compare it to some of the pictures you see on the web, and the colors, they're gorgeous. They do seem a bit washed out compared to some, but then I always wonder how much those images are a bit doctored to make them super vibrant. I don't know. I like the colors. I think one day when I ever get that park bench panel finished, I think the second one I'll do is the bridge. I love those blues and purples and stuff in there. So, the reflection. And then one day, eventually, 20 years down the road, I'll get to that lady. But it's not a race. I'm not in a hurry. So, the last thing I've been working on for the last couple of weeks is the stocking. This project is the bane of my existence at the moment. So, dimensions kit, done on the kit Ada, all the kit threads. I'm pretty sure I looked it up last time and it was called Rooftop Santa if anybody's looking for it. This project has been work in progress for years, and I'm really unhappy with 20 years ago me because she didn't do very sensible things. There were all sorts of little random missed stitches everywhere, so I made a very deliberate effort this couple of weeks to kind of fill in this toe portion. So I'm nearly there. I'm missing a bit of snow there. I'm sure there's a little bit of green missing in between the reindeer somewhere. And up near one of the trees in the village, there's some missing. But it's a lot fuller than it was. It's, you know, you can nearly get to the point where you can call that toe complete. I noticed, for some reason, goodness only knows, some of these greens, particularly in that flower and stuff, and I have to assume in his mittens and everything, some of those greens were charted to be half cross, and all those years ago, me and my wisdom decided I was going to do them full cross. So I've had to be very careful when I go back and pick up something and look and see where else was this used that I've already done. How did I do it the first time so that I can match it? Because if you just read the chart and go off what the chart says, it doesn't work because I've gone and made other decisions. Same with that belt buckle. I'm pretty sure that was charted for some of those to be half cross. And yet, when it came to the snow, I did that half cross. So why did I decide to do some of it half cross and some of it not? I have no idea, guys. No idea. We're just making it work. I pulled out most of my guidelines around that toe. I'm off a stitch somewhere, so I put some guidelines in. You can just kind of see them to see that I was keeping the right kind of shape. But I think I've managed to fudge it close enough that, you know, we're all good. So I've ripped most of the guidelines, just need to get that last little bit out. And then, yeah. So my goal for this next week or so will be basically from his waist down, try and get all of that complete so that I can write it off. And then we'll work up to the top, filling things out. Obviously, where I was working in the snow below, I had extra thread, so now I'm using it to fill in that big gap there. I don't think there's been much progress in the basket. That's got little random bits of missed stuff everywhere yet. Yeah. This is one of those projects where I'm not strictly using a timer and saying 30 minutes or anything. But I do try and every single day stitch, you know, 2 or 3 threads on this piece before I go off and do what I actually want to do. So I've been a bit naughty in the last couple of days. I need to get back to that process. And I think if I do that, it won't actually take long to complete it. You can see, like, the bulk of the picture is there. It's just not an inspiring stitch at the moment. There's so many other things I'd rather be doing. This is more of a chore than a fun thing. But we're going to get there, and my daughter will have her stocking before she graduates. So I think that's about it for me. I hope you all are keeping safe, managing well with all the chaos. Yeah. I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Enjoy your stitching. Stay safe. Wash your hands. All that jazz. See you next time, guys.